Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, on this beautiful Thursday evening, July 13th, 2017, live. We are live from the North Jersey studios. It is the Nico Chronicles, aka TNC. As always, I am your host, the one, the only, Nico Saraceno. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It is a fantastic feeling to be back. Went on a couple week hiatus there, so I've had an interesting journey, to say the least, and it's been great. I have a lot of catching up to say the least. Guys, I don't even know what to start. First of all, I apologize for taking the 2-week break. You know, I love the show. For those of you who know, I'm a huge fan of the show, obviously. This is episode 50, which is big news, which I'm very excited about. But a couple weeks ago, actually, I had my first wisdom tooth pulled, which was a very exciting experience. I don't know if you guys can note the sarcasm in that, but I had to get my lower right wisdom tooth removed because it was kind of popping through the gums and all that. I don't want to bore you guys with the details, but it was kind of starting to like protrude a little bit. So I wanted to get that done ASAP. And then shortly after that, I was told that as a result, to kind of evens things out, so to speak, I would have to get the upper right pulled as well. Or else eventually that tooth and the gum is going to drop. Like after 20 plus years, you know, time will take and run its course, and you know, you don't want that to happen. So I'm getting the next one pulled this coming Monday, actually, which is definitely going to be a fun time. It's just different because you know what to expect this time. The element of surprise is usually what I prefer, because at least when you don't know what to expect, you know, it seems like it's over quicker. Although, you know, in all honesty, it is like a 5-minute procedure. I mean, in reality, it takes longer for the local anesthesia, the Novocaine and everything, because you have to numb that whole area of your mouth. It takes longer for that to happen than for the actual procedure. So, I mean, that's sort of comforting in a way, I guess you could say. But if you guys want to catch us on the Nico Chronicles here, we are currently rolling, as always, on Facebook Live, facebook.com/the Nico Chronicles. You can also catch us on the Wix stream, actually, at the NicoChronicles.wix.com/the Nico Chronicles. Also, you can catch us via the 701-801-2251 number. You can listen live there as well. Press 5 if you want to chat. And plenty of ways for you guys to tune in. Shout out to my mom, by the way, who's commenting on our stream here. But as I said, we do have plenty of items planned for tonight. Jake Brown, who's the host of the well-known Jake Brown Show, sports journalist, is set to join us in a few minutes. He's going to be joining us shortly, just over 5 minutes. Jake Brown will be with us. But I also want to send a very special happy, and I guess you can say congratulatory happy 3 months to my beautiful niece Enza, who is 3 months today, right on the dot. So happy 3 months, Enza, I love you. So my sister actually put up a cute picture of her today in her little 4th of July attire. So very, very cute. It's pretty crazy. I'm looking at pictures like from when she was 1 month old and so on, and you can just see, you know, how much older she's getting. I mean, I know that's kind of obvious, but it's like the progress is like unbelievable. So it's pretty cool to see that. If you do like a whole time lapse, like I kind of want to do like a flip book of like month to month, or I guess that's the beauty of Instagram. You can kind of just pull them all up together and see them side by side and everything, and kind of just see the progress over the months and over time and everything like that. So happy birthday, Enza. We all love you. And there's been a lot going on. Currently, right now, Floyd Mayweather or Floyd Money Mayweather, excuse me, and Conor McGregor having a third press conference. The third overall, but the second in just as many nights. They were in Toronto yesterday. Drizzy Drake introduced them. This time around, they are at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Currently going on right now, actually, as I was prepping for the show. They were shooting it on Facebook Live. Showtime Boxing was shooting it via Facebook Live. So much speculation around this. What will the result be? I don't know. How many rounds will it even last? Nobody knows for sure, obviously, but the one thing that is for certain is the fact that this is a huge marketing opportunity. So many people are profiting. This is a $400 million fight we're talking about here. This is more than Floyd Mayweather, who's 49-0 right now. Match number 48 was Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao, which was one of the biggest boxing matches in terms of revenue, and I think in history, if not the greatest. It was the biggest fight. That was $300 million. So this is set to raise the bar to a whole other level. Of course, boxing versus MMA/UFC, the storyline's all there. So it's going to be interesting to see how it develops. It is. And of course, that will take place in just over 6 weeks. We're looking at Saturday, October 26th, or Saturday, August 26th, 2017, excuse me. So that's something to look forward to. Do you want to pay the $100 pay-per-view subscription? I don't know. That's completely up to you. I guess if you have a whole bunch of people, perhaps it's worth it. But it's always exciting to go to a place to watch it as well. So the choice is completely yours. But also yesterday the ESPYs took place. I did not watch the whole thing, but I did see highlights. Peyton Manning completely called out Kevin Durant, which is pretty funny. And involved Russell Westbrook as well, and their faces were places. KD's and then Russell Westbrook's right after that. He put them in such awkward positions. It was, you felt bad for them, but it made good TV. It was very entertaining. And Peyton Manning himself he's got a good future in stand-up if he ever decides to pursue that. He's obviously got the Papa John endorsement going, and he could broadcast for any network he wants to if he wants the opportunity. From last I heard, he has not signed on with anybody yet. I'm sure perhaps ESPN or CBS or NBC, any of those networks, Fox would be happy to take him. So we'll see what happens with Peyton Manning, but it looks like he's enjoying retirement, to say the least, which is great to hear, because it's certainly well deserved. No doubt about that. Peyton Manning, the Hall of Famer, after all these years he's put into the NFL, deserves to be enjoying himself, obviously. So there's a lot. It's felt like so much has gone on these past 2 weeks. There's been so much action. Of course, I'm going to dive into this with Jake in a bit, but free agency has just been crazy. I know that's probably an overused word nowadays, but I think it's the perfect word to describe this whole free agency process. Tons of players getting big deals. Of course, James Harden getting a deal, one-upping Steph Curry. So Vince Carter joining the Kings. There's a lot of guys here that I highlighted. Chris Paul signing with the Rockets. So it's interesting. Many may argue that the Rockets are becoming contenders, to say the least. They can give the Golden State Warriors a run for their money, perhaps, and the Spurs. Patty Mills signing a 4-year, $50 million deal. Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston re-signing with the Warriors. Nick Swaggy P. Young signing with the Warriors on a 1-year deal. Of course, Kevin Durant signs an extension for 2 years, $55 million. The list goes on and on here. So many names. Even David West signed for $2.3 million with the Warriors. So obviously, Golden State's doing the best to keep their squad in check. A lot of teams are trying to expand their talents for obvious reasons. You have Gordon Hayward, of course, the huge 4-year, $128 million deal signing with the Celtics. So that's huge. That shakes the East up a little bit. Although the Celtics, many would argue they were the only other real contenders in the Eastern Conference besides the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, they do say, a lot of people argue that the NBA is a top-heavy league, which I have to agree with. There's only 4 teams, maybe 5 or 6 if you're pushing it, that can contend for the title. So it'll be interesting to see what else unfolds. Because free agency only opened July 1st, so it's only been 12 days. I mean, they have arguably the whole year plus to make a deal, so we'll see what happens. It'll be very interesting to see what happens, but without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now is an extremely accomplished sports journalist in his own rights. He is the current host of the Jake Brown Show, which can be heard on CBS Radio's Play It podcast network. He is the one, the only, Jake Brown. Jake, thank you so much for joining me tonight. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm doing well. I was just hanging out here, watching a bit of the hype surrounding Conor McGregor and, of course, Floyd Mayweather with that fight coming up August 26th. They're doing that at the Barclays Center. Before we dive into things, what are your thoughts about this Mayweather McGregor fight? Do you think it's even worth examining? Do you think there's even going to be worth of a fight for McGregor in this case?
Listen, I think Mayweather's going to win. I think it's turned into kind of like a WWE kind of pre-hype here. I mean, the fact that there's just so many press conferences and guys going up in their face and these headlines, and it's just trying to make people pay the $99, $95 or whatever it's going to cost. Where most of us are just going to go to a bar and probably pay $20 to get in, not be able to move elbows or even breathe because everyone's going to be suffocating each other. But I think, like, you're in a ring, anything can happen. I mean, maybe McGregor throws a punch and knocks him out. I don't see it happening, but I think it's worth it. And I know McGregor's going to train his ass off to try to give himself a shot. So I'm not going to write it off, but I do think the pre-hype and all that is going to be better than the fight, as was the deal for Pacquiao Mayweather as well.
Yeah, and let's not forget the money. We're looking at, I believe, is like $400 million. So when it comes to watching the fight, no matter where you choose to do so, how many rounds did you envision this going? Because a lot of the storyline is, McGregor obviously not as much boxing experience as Mayweather, who's a 20+ year vet. Do you see this dragging on for more than a couple rounds, if that?
My guess would say the 2 to 3 range. I don't think it'll be done at 1, but I also don't think it'll go all 5. I'll probably go in the middle, take 3, because both of them like to dance around a little bit, especially Mayweather. So I think they're going to, for the showmanship aspect and to put on a show for the fans and for all the people that paid, I think in that sense, it'll go at least a couple. So I'll put it, I think Mayweather wins in 3 rounds.
Mayweather in 3 rounds. I guess we'll have to wait and see those 6 weeks. But before we get too off track, Jake, I was curious. You obviously went to school at a very good university known for its journalism program, Hofstra, for many people who might not know. But I'm just curious, could you just kind of describe the path and describe the journey for the listeners to kind of see the journey that you took to kind of rise through the ranks? Because you've had quite a few impressive stints. You've been at ESPN affiliates, of course. You've hosted a variety of different shows. You've written for quite a few impressive publications and things of that nature. So could you just kind of just describe your journey and kind of the path that you've taken to really get to this point? Because it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, I still think I'm in the first phase here. I've done a lot of different stuff, and I'm still an unknown. I kind of took a different path than normal. a lot of my friends were doing radio at WRHU and Hofstra for the whole time, and I only did it for my senior year. Prior to that, I started. I basically took a writing opportunity to write about New York sports, and I was doing a blog, and I just wanted to get published on site. And when I was in college and just graduating college, I would take whatever opportunities I had, whether it was small side or what, gather those clips to let me get to a bigger platform each time. So I started Sports Radio NY. They had a weekly Sunday night show on WGBB in Long Island, AM 1240, and I started doing that once a month. I had a co-host, Ty Hardiman, Fifth Quarter New York Sports, it was called, and I would just stay fresh and do one, maybe two shows a month on there for an hour. And we would get guests, whether it be Ed Coleman, Matt Soromo from Mets Blog, my friend Charles Jenkins, who played at Hofstra, and we just did that. And once I did that, that got me into WRHU finally. I regret not starting WRHU earlier, but you know, the first couple of years of college, you're adjusting, you're still partying a little bit, you're not focused on what your goals are. The junior year kicked in. And I did a little play-by-play there, and then as soon as I graduated, I started doing a once-a-week show on ESPN Radio in New Hampshire from Hofstra Studios with my friend Drew. We had guests on there, Chris Bouchard, Rick Barry, Fred Lynn, Els Hobbs. We had Boston people, we had national people, and I just kept building, and I would keep writing, and once the ESPN finished, I did a year of that, and then started CBS and digital space, and I used the CBS platform to say, hey guys, I got done shows, can I do a podcast? Ben Troop was interested, the former tight end. With the Titans, we formed and did a show the end of 2014, and we did a show Go Forth and Go with JB and BT, a podcast. And from there, since then, so December 2014 to now, I've been doing podcasts. So after Brown coincidentally became Brown and Scoop, I worked with Scoop B from Hottie, went to Hofstra grad school. We had like 10 viral interviews. We were on ESPN. Scoop was on CBS This Morning. We had some stories, and we had stories that were trending on like Facebook, and we had a good run for a year, and then I wanted to do my own thing. So unfortunately, I was laid off in April from my full-time job with CBS, so I'm still searching. But I've just been all over, and I'd say like just take any opportunity you can. You may think it's a small website, but that would lead to something else. And just always treat it as everyone's watching versus treating it as your mom and your grandma's listening. Like treat it as you treat it as, the example, I was just watching Mike and the Mad Dog special. Treat it as everyone's watching, because you never know what that clip can get you to the next opportunity. And I'm hoping that my current show, done with CBS, will lead me to either a bigger opportunity with CBS or elsewhere. And I think podcast and video on demand has just elevated so much, especially in this last year. You're seeing it with Fox Sports getting rid of the writers like Ken Rosenthal. They're going to an all-video website. Videos have just dominated it with Facebook Live and all that. So it's just technology is evolving, and you really just have to move with it. And even me right now, I'm still looking for a new opportunity. It's not easy. And I feel like I've done a lot, but there's people who have done more, and there's just not a lot of spots open. So it's just a very limited field, and so many people want to host a show that it's really about who you know. So I'm just trying to build connections and take every opportunity that I've had the chance, and hopefully bigger and better opportunities will come along coming up soon.
Absolutely. I'm sure that there are, as you said, bigger opportunities on the horizon for you. And you make a really good point, Jake. Of course, you have to keep up with the times. Obviously, 2017 has seen a lot of different developments, but the networking has just been such an important aspect. I mean, it's been important for years, but now more than ever, it's really important for you to know the right people, and obviously that's gonna help, if not help you lead the way in some sense. But over the years, with the connections that you made and the various shows that you've been able to host and things of that nature, you've featured, as you alluded to, like a ton of big name guests, and even more recently on your show, on the Jake Brown Show right now, you've had great guys such as Mo Vaughn, of course, Tiki Barber, Hall of Fame tight end Tony Gonzalez, Kenny Alberts, just to name a few of them. But if you had to look back and kind of just brainstorm for a second, who's been your favorite guest to feature? If you had to pick one or two of them, who's been your favorite guest to feature on the show? Who's been the biggest pleasure to work with, would you say?
Yeah, that's tough.
I know I'm putting you on the spot there.
In terms of the Jake Brown show, the newer one,
Yeah.
I loved having a Mo Vaughn come in studio. I was nervous. I loved Mo Vaughn when I was a kid. So that was big for me. Tiki Barber, me and him became closer, and he's really a great guy. And just watching him as a kid, the first NFL jersey I owned, and now he's my colleague, and I'm in the WFAN studio with him. That was cool for me. So I like to bring back people in my childhood. Ian Eagle, legendary broadcaster I looked up to, told me this incredible story of how he got the Nets play-by-play job. The interview was picked up by awful announcing, and he just told me how he went to the NBA offices or something and just did a play-by-play of a playoff game and sent it last minute to the Nets, and they took it. And it took like 7 tries. It was just a wild story. So Those kind of people that I grew up loving, I've got to have on this show. The last show, Brown and Scoop, is where we really had star power in terms of we interviewed DJ Khaled from his dressing room at Barclays Center. I interviewed myself, French Montana, a rapper who I like.
Wow.
We had Dr. Ben Carson, Mario Andretti, a lot of big names. But I think this show, what I've truly enjoyed is getting to talk to guys that I grew up on. So I'd say like a guy like Tiki, a guy like Ian, a guy like Mo Vaughn, for me has been really cool.
So certainly, that's gotta be a pretty awesome feeling. Kind of, you kind of get that sense of nostalgia there, and bringing back some childhood memories, which must be pretty incredible. But I think a really big storyline, obviously, since July 1st has been this entire free agency, whatever you want to call it, the buzz, the excitement surrounding this crazy free agency period. Obviously, all these teams trying to really contend in this top-heavy NBA right now. So far, Jake, if you had to look at all these deals that have been made, obviously there's been so many. Obviously Gordon Hayward, Chris Paul, J.J. Redick, Deion Waiters, just so many names out there that have switched teams and signed deals and everything like that. What's been one of the most impactful deals for you, like in terms of making a splash so far this year?
I really like what the Sacramento Kings have done. I think what they did in the draft combined with adding, I believe they had Jeff Teague, they got Zach Randolph, and they got Vince Carter on top of drafting De'Aaron Fox, on top of drafting Frank Mason, and drafting, who am I missing? They drafted, I think it was Malik Monk or something. They had an incredible draft. They had 3 great picks. They had a good free agency. And you look at the Kings and you're thinking, wow, that DeMarcus Cousins trade may have actually been a blessing in disguise because they've had the money to get all these other pieces. So I like what the Kings have done. I like Paul George to the Thunder. I think they're going to be good. Again, it's the West, so it's a crapshoot. And I think we'll see the Rockets get mellow here in the next 48 hours. I think they'll be a Rocket. So I would say the Rockets and the Kings are honestly going to make the biggest splashes. And everyone in the East at this point is losers. Although I'll say the Nets and Sean Marks are going in the right direction. I think in a couple of years they're going to be intriguing. I think right now they're going to be more of a fun team to watch. I can see myself going in that game because they have a good young core in place here with D'Angelo Russell, with they get Mozgov, with what they have done here now. Probably going to do a little bit more since they have some money to spend. I think the Nets are at least respectable and heading in the right direction and getting assets and getting a pick from Toronto. So I'll say the Rockets, the Kings, and the Nets have had, in my mind, the most intriguing offseason. Yeah,
that's an interesting point. It's funny you brought up the Nets because I've been a Nets fan, I want to say, since like the New Jersey days, since like 2000, 2001. The Jason Kidd, Kenyon Martin, Rodney Rogers, those kind of guys. When I saw them pick up the Timothy Mozgov, obviously. You have this big man worth $50 million. I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts about that? Like, I mean, I really don't understand the contract that some of these players are getting. Like, only Brooklyn, or maybe the Knicks would absorb that sort of contract. Do you think he's worth nearly as much as his contract suggests?
Well, it's like 15 or 16 million a year, which it's crazy. But then you look around and Drew Holiday is getting 25 million a year.
Yeah.
I think that Tyler Johnson is getting 13 million in Miami. So you're seeing these guys who obviously aren't worth that kind of money getting big bucks. And I thought the James Harden deal was ludicrous. Thinking a guy who's known to be kind of lazy, has 2 years left on his deal. Yeah. A guy who just went to the club after being eliminated the same night, multiple clubs, and they give $42 million a year for another 4 years. It's just so stupid. I just didn't get that. The Curry deal's fair because he's going to be there a while and he's earned it. He hasn't made a lot. I mean, he's made a lot, but in the NBA eyes, he hasn't made a lot so far. So he earned that. But otherwise, bad. But I've seen deals that are so much worse, and it's not like he's an absolute scrub. The guy's going to score 12 points, get 8 or 9 boards. He's not going to fill the shoes of Brook Lopez, but it's $15 million a year compared to Drew Holiday getting $25 million a year, to Tim Hardaway getting $18 million a year. When you look at it like that, it's not like the craziest deal I've seen.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you have to put it all in perspective. And of course, you were alluding to James Harden. That deal, looking at the number now, for 6 years, $228 million. I just can't even think about that amount of money. But before I let you go, Jake, I want to real quick talk about Lonzo Ball. Obviously, highly talked about these past few weeks after being drafted number 2. He had a huge game recently, put up 36 for the Lakers. What are your thoughts about Lonzo? Do you think he has the potential to live up to the hype? Because there's so much pressure being put on him by his father, by the media. It's the pressure's just continuously mounting. Do you think Lonzo can live up to the hype in Los Angeles, and eventually, do you think the Lakers can really live up to their potential?
I do. I think Lonzo's going to be really good, and I think I'm not one of those people who roots against him just so LeVar will shut up. I want him to do well, and I think the kid is such a great passer. He's such a great distributor, and I know it's early, it's summer league, who cares, whatever. But you can just see his court vision and the fact that he's like a Jason Kidd Jr. kind of, how he can get the ball down the court in one pass, like he's a quarterback, and just making guys around him better. And then, like, he's got to put on a show. His jump shot obviously worries you a little because his form, it looks like he's going to get rejected every time. If he creates space, he'll be okay. But I just think his all-around game is too good for him not to be good. I don't think we're looking at him to be the next Jordan or LeBron. I think we're looking at him to be a Lakers all-star, and people need to stop looking at him in the light of, is he going to be the next Magic, or is he going to be the next Laker legend? Let's look at him as he's going to be a great talent. He's going to be a big piece of the Lakers' success, and I think maybe next year the Lakers will be a playoff team because they're going to have money and they're going to have a big free agent market to pick from, like a Paul George. So I think next year is going to be the year to look for them. I don't know if they're a playoff team this year. I think they're borderline, 9 or 10 seed maybe. But I think they're going in the right direction. They have young pieces. And you can hate on Lonzo all you want, hate on Lamar, but, I mean, it's so obvious that this kid has this court vision that you don't see a lot in the NBA and what he could do, mixed in with the fact that he can rebound and he can shoot a little bit too. So I think he's going to be an all-star. Just don't compare him to Magic, Jordan, LeBron. I don't think ever. Definitely not yet, but I don't think they'll ever get to that level.
So time will tell with Lonzo Ball. Plenty of potential, of course, as you said. Plenty of storylines leading up to the NBA season. Obviously, we're in mid-July here, so we got about 3 months and a half. But we'll see what happens. We'll stay tuned. But Jake, my friend, thank you so much for tuning in to the Nico Chronicles, offering your knowledge, dropping some knowledge on us here. I really appreciate you taking the time, and it's been a real pleasure. Thanks so much.
No problem, man. Thanks a lot for having me.
All right, man. So special thanks to Jake Brown at The Jake Brown Show. You can catch it, of course, on CBS's Play.it network. You can also catch it available, I should say, on iTunes and Spotify as well, if you search it in the search bar. So Jake made a lot of great points. You know, the latter point, Lonzo Ball, plenty of upside. His shot, it's unorthodox, for the lack of a better term. You know, it looks like it could be easily rejected, as Jake mentioned. Is it going to affect his play? Perhaps. You can't compare him to a player of LeBron's caliber. Obviously, this kid's a rookie, a few games into the summer league. But you look at LeBron James over the years. Struggled with his jump shot. Teams were crowding the paint, forcing him to take those 20-plus footers. And it cost him. It cost him at times. You know, fast forward, we're looking at 14 years later. He's got a rather pure mid-range and three-point jump shot. You know, teams aren't forcing him as often to shoot those contested shots. You know, they have to respect the jumper, and then when that happens, teams press, he splits a double team and takes it to the hole. So he's really a double threat or a triple threat, whatever you want to call it. You know, an all-around great player, certainly. But I talk about it many times on the show. I don't try to hide the fact that I'm a huge NBA fan, which is why this whole NBA free agency period, which has only been in existence this year for 12 days, has already made a plethora of splashes, as I said. Jake alluded to Vince Carter signing that one deal. Okay, the guy is 40 years old. Okay, he agrees to a 1 year, $8 million deal with the Kings, who are on the upside. Bojan Bogdanovic, former Nets and former Washington Wizard, agrees to a 2 year, $21 million deal with the Pacers, who just traded Paul George. So that's a good pickup. Good outside shooter for them. Good perimeter shooting. Blake Griffin. Everyone was worried that he might leave DeAndre Jordan in LA. 3 years, or 5 years, $173 million extension or deal with the Clippers, however you want to look at it. So these are just for a few of them. Rudy Gay, how about this one? 2 years, $17.2 million with San Antonio, with the Spurs. This is another big one that kind of flew under the radar, I think. I mean, that's nothing that the Spurs aren't accustomed to. They're one of those teams that does not run their mouth. They just keep their head down and take care of business. I think that's Greg Popovich's mentality. You know, just take care of business and let the winning speak for itself, and that's respectable. You got to commend them for that. They've got all the titles they've won, all the wins they've tallied over the years. It's certainly a dynasty. So you have to assume they're the top contender to compete in the West, if not the Rockets with the Warriors. So those are the top three teams if you're looking at it right now. Of course, in the East, as I mentioned earlier, Celtics and Cavaliers. Perhaps another team will sneak in there, but I just don't see it as of now, pending a big free agent splash. And you look at the Rockets in the West. I want to jump back to them. If they pick up Carmelo Anthony, you're looking at a starting lineup featuring Melo, CP3, and James Harden. That's a lot of egos. That's a lot of players that need to touch the ball there. Because you look at Harden last season, led the league in assists at 11.2. Okay, Chris Paul, you have to respect his ball handling. He's obviously going to be bringing the ball up. So that means Harden can shoot, he can shift back to shooting guard. He did play point guard this season. So he can shift. It goes to that debate. Same when the big three were in Miami. Who would take that final shot, in the last 5 seconds of the game? Who do you rely on? Melo, CP3, or James Harden? Yeah, I think that's a real debate. I'm sure each respective player, if you ask them, they'd be like, oh, any of us is qualified to shoot. But deep down they're going to think it themselves. Coaches are going to say otherwise, etc. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops. But that's assuming the Melo deal even happens, so to speak. But still, CP3 and Harden as well have to, although they are reportedly great friends, it's going to be interesting to see how the chemistry translates onto the court. That's really the fact of the matter. So we'll see. NBA season will be here before you know it. I'm excited for it. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 50 of the Nico Chronicles. It's been a real pleasure. It was great to be back after 2 weeks. On this Thursday, July 13th, 2017, we will return. We will return next week for episode 51 on July 20th, next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Once again, thank you to Jake Brown for calling in. Thank you guys for watching via Facebook Live, the Witch Streamer for calling in. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. Have yourselves a fabulous and phenomenal weekend. And take care.